The ATLAS system, our automated celestial sentry, detected it on the 1st of July, the year 2025. The object designated 3IATLAS, the third confirmed interstellar visitor. Initially, the procedure was standard: hyperbolic trajectory, a speed exceeding the gravitational escape velocity of our star, a typical rogue, a comet, an icy body ejected from a distant, long-gone planetary system. This was the doctrine, a clear scientific answer. We had seen Oumuamua. We had observed Comet Borisov. The universe, we knew, was dynamic. Star systems constantly exchange matter. This was just another, larger, brighter comet, an icy snowball carrying carbon dioxide, cyanide, and water. A classic textbook composition, reassuring. There was nothing about it that should have caused alarm. Its diameter, according to initial estimates, was between 5 and 11 kilometers, the largest of our interstellar guests. A valuable scientific specimen, a time capsule from another galactic epoch. We pointed everything we had at it: Hubble, the Gemini Observatory, our orbital assets observing Mars. We wanted to study its composition, to learn if the building blocks of other systems resembled ours. The scientific community was unified. A comet, no doubt. It was approaching the sun. This should activate it, cause it to sublimate, and grow a bright, long tail. This would be the final, undeniable proof. A comet, a simple, elegant answer. We were taught to trust our instruments, to trust physics. This is the foundation of our reality. The calm, confident tone of the initial reports. Everything was under control. The object posed no threat. It would pass at a safe distance of 270 million kilometers. Speed, 68 kilometers per second. It was merely rock, ice, and dust. A neutral, lifeless object. But there is always a but. The first hints came from Mars' orbit. The Trace Gas Orbiter, tuned to detect atmospheric gas on the red planet, happened to be in the right place. It took a snapshot. Clear, though faint. The expectation was to see a classic cometary coma, a diffuse cloud of gas and dust blurring the nucleus. Instead, something else. The nucleus was anomalously bright. For such a faint, distant object, the luminosity seemed excessive. And crucially, the expected dust tail was missing. Where there should have been a stretched-out jet shaped by the solar wind, there was a void, or almost a void. Scientists attributed this to technical limitations. The TGO was not designed to observe fast-moving, dim objects, too far away. The smearing effect of the camera. A rational explanation can always be found. That is how science works. Anomaly elimination. An illusion. But then, the strangest thing began. Avi Loeb, the Harvard astrophysicist, drew attention to the trajectory. Not the hyperbola itself, but its plane. The orbit of 3IATLAS coincided with the plane of the Earth's orbit, to within 5 degrees. The probability of this being a coincidence was estimated at only 0.2%. It looked like something aimed, like something that didn't just miss, but targeted our ecliptic plane. A statistical needle in a haystack. Loeb was outspoken. Trojan horse. The word was uttered for the first time. He spoke of the Oberth maneuver, a space technique that a controlled apparatus could perform to use the sun's gravity for deceleration and orbital insertion. And then they realized that even nature could be suspicious. New images from Earth, from Gemini, spectral analysis. It turned out the object was emitting nickel and cyanide. This is not entirely uncommon for a comet, but the analysis showed the nickel was being emitted without iron. Comets usually contain both, and in the same proportion as meteorites. Here, it was different, only nickel. In industry, nickel plating is used to create a durable, stable surface. In nature, This isolated form is extremely rare. It brought back a memory. Oumuamua also had anomalous emissions. The anomalous antitail, a faint jet pointed towards the sun, not away from it, an optical illusion, or a real emission that defied all laws of cometary mechanics. After all, a comet is ice. It approaches the sun, the ice sublimates, the gases propel it. This should not happen in the direction of the sun. This was no longer just illogical, it was defiant. This changes everything. Science demands reproducibility. Science demands evidence. The alien probe hypothesis was emotional, but all the facts had to be explained. The task was set. Obtain the clearest possible image of the object's nucleus, not the blurry coma, but the solid body. We waited. 3IATLAS was approaching. All telescopes were focused. Images taken in long exposure mode still showed only a clump. New data on size. The initial 5 to 11 kilometers estimate was revised. Based on new calculations of brightness and emissions, the nucleus diameter was smaller, between 0.32 and 5.6 kilometers. But even at a smaller size, it was anomalous. Spectral analysis. Scientists looked for the main comet marker, hydroxyl, a product of water molecule decay. SWIFT detected it. The comet was losing about 40 kilograms of water every second. Everyone sighed with relief. It's a comet. It behaves like a comet. The nickel case? Just a rare type of cometism. The case of the orbital plane? An incredible but still a coincidence. We live in an uncountably large universe where the most improbable events are bound to happen. The anomaly was eliminated. The doctrine was confirmed. But at that time, another group, using a combination of high-resolution images and specialized filters, obtained a series of images processed with a new algorithm. The goal, to see the shape. They expected to see an uneven, potato-shaped asteroid, a typical cometary nucleus. What they saw made them cancel the conference. The figure was elongated, cylindrical. Unlike Oumuamua, which was also elongated, this object was not tumbling chaotically. It maintained its axis. It was oriented. Orientation in space. This was not just a random elongated shape. It was a shape optimized for movement through the interstellar medium, an engineering solution, a cylinder, the most efficient profile for minimizing drag and maximizing stability. And most importantly, as it approached the sun, when gas emissions should have destabilized it, the object did not begin to slow down. It did not deviate from its intended trajectory. It moved with the same incredible precision. All of this refuted the cometary status. A comet is the chaos of sublimation. Then why is it emitting water? Why nickel? Loeb replied, camouflage. He suggested that the outer shell of the craft might contain ice, deliberately ejected to mimic a natural object. Anomalous brightness? Not reflected light. Internal luminescence. Perhaps the green glow was the result of some mechanism at work, or a nickel coating reacting to the solar wind. Logic faltered. The scientific method turned into a detective investigation. We stopped asking, what is it? We started asking, why is it? Data received from the orbital probe, which was making a close pass to 3IATLAS, finally broke the consensus. The probe had been launched hastily for an intercept, not for landing, but for field analysis. It was supposed to measure the density of the coma, the dust composition, and, most importantly, the magnetic field. Magnetic field measurements. Comets have a weak, induced field. 3IATLAS had a tense field, organized. It did not resemble the sun's field. It was its own. This indicated the presence of a vast amount of ferromagnetic material in the nucleus, or an active system. Suddenly, a 1-kilometer diameter was no longer just a rock. It became a vessel. It became a hull. Further spectral analysis showed that nickel and cyanide were being ejected with increasing intensity as it approached the Sun. This was not mere evaporation, it was a controlled release. If it were a comet, it would have been depleted. But 3IATLAS seemed only to increase its activity. As it passed Mars, it became barely visible to the probes. It turned off. It reduced its brightness, not because of distance, but because of intent. And this is where we reached the point of no return. A crucial moment in history. The final image. Closest approach to the Sun. The probe passed close enough to obtain a thermal image, a temperature map of the surface, a typical comet, uneven heating, cracks, zones of intense sublimation. 3IATLAS, a uniform low-temperature profile, except for one clearly defined zone. It was cold, the zone at the nose of the cylinder. This meant that energy was not just being dissipated, but redirected. It was a thermal regulation system, a cooling circuit. This was not ice. This was a machine. Physics requires that a body moving at such a speed, of such a composition, under such gravitational influence, obey the laws. But 3IATLAS ignored them. It moved not despite the forces, but by means of them. The Oberth maneuver that Loeb spoke of happened. Invisible, but recorded by the shift in trajectory. The object used the Sun's energy to correct its path. It was not a ship, it was not a probe, it was an instrument. And then they realized that our knowledge is not a foundation, but merely a top layer of dust on something infinitely deeper. We searched for chaos and found order. We searched for nature and found geometry. Our laws are immutable. If they are breaking, it means we do not know all the laws. Our knowledge is merely a local, modest vocabulary. The collapse of the paradigm was quiet, not an explosion, but a complete, pervasive sense of emptiness left after all the answers proved wrong. The third interstellar visitor, the first non-natural object. Its age, we estimated, exceeded 7 billion years. It was older than our solar system. It is approaching, and it is watching. We have always thought of life as a biological phenomenon. DNA, protein, water. We searched for ourselves. Hydrogen, oxygen, carbon. This was our mirror in the galaxy. And now, something has arrived that does not fit any of these characteristics. It does not need water, except for camouflage. It has no tail because it does not seek to reveal itself. Its existence is not a matter of survival, but a matter of function. What is intelligence? We tied it to consciousness, consciousness to the brain, brain to the body. And here is an object that may not possess biological consciousness as we understand it, but it possesses incredible intelligence, encoded in its geometry, in its trajectory, in its ability to imitate and ignore. An intelligence that, in 7 billion years, has not decomposed, not strayed, not drowned in galactic noise. This was not a visit. This was a data transfer. 3IATLAS is not just a craft. It is a form of architectural intelligence, an object that is both the carrier and the tool. It may have been launched by a civilization long vanished, and this craft continues to perform its single, eternal mission. What is the mission? Observation, study, or, even more disturbingly, seeding. If this object was designed to collect and transmit information, then it is using our Sun as an antenna, as an amplifier. Its Oberth maneuver is not just a course correction, it is a connection. It collects data about our system, about the gravitational field, about the composition of our star, about its emission frequency, and sends it somewhere into the distant, cold cosmos. It is not that we are alone in the universe, it is that the universe is watching us. We are a biological error that suddenly drew attention. Our planet is nothing more than one of the billions it has passed. But our civilization, our technology, for the first time in 7 billion years, they saw that we could detect it. Our observational power, that is what attracted its attention. Our alarm, our confusion. The scenario we were playing out was too simple. We expected aliens in big ships, with laser guns, with demands. We waited for ourselves, just in a different form. But something else arrived, something permanent, something eternal. 3IATLAS is a metaphor for our cosmic position. We are children living in a house we did not build. And someone who built that house is quietly peering through the window to check on how we are behaving. This is not war. This is not contact. This is an audit. We became part of its program, and its silence is the most disturbing of all answers. It does not speak because it has nothing to say. It merely records. This changes our perception of time. Now, as 3IATLAS moves away, our alarm subsides. This is instinct. We want to return to normalcy, to comets, to asteroids, to the simple, understandable laws of Newton. The reports will be rewritten. New rational explanations will be found. A rare, unstudied type of comet with a unique nickel composition and an icy shell. Science loves order. It will patch the holes. But the knowledge remains. The knowledge of the cylindrical shape, of the controlled trajectory, of the organized magnetic field, of the intentional reduction in brightness. It settles into the subconscious, like a grain of sand that changes the gravity of an entire planet. We discovered a technological relic. It was a message, not in the form of a radio signal, but in the form of a physical object. The oldest, most effective kind of communication. To create something that will not decay. To create something that will exist longer than its creator. Eternity in the form of 1 kilometer of metal. Or non-metal. What is the meaning of this? In realization. In acceptance. We are not alone, but we are not the center either. We are not the goal, but we are not the exception. We are simply one point on its infinite, ancient map. And now it moves away. Its speed increases. The hyperbola carries it back into interstellar space, back to the one who created it, or to the one who awaits its data. 270 million kilometers. We could not catch up to it. We could not stop it. We could not understand it. The only thing we learned, beyond our sun, beyond our comprehension, there is constancy, an intelligence that does not depend on breath or blood, an intelligence that uses the very fabric of the universe as its tool. And its appearance is not the beginning of our contact. It is the confirmation that this contact has been happening for billions of years. We are just one rotation in the eternal cosmic chronology. The quiet ending comes when we stop asking questions and begin merely to look. Object 3IATLAS was not a comet. He was a memory of those who understand that true survival is not adaptation, but withdrawal. And then silence fell. An anxious, filled silence in which only one sound is heard. The quiet, constant, receding rustle of a cylindrical object carrying away our data, our fears, our scientific reports. It will simply disappear, but we will know. Or maybe it is us, and the waiting will begin. The waiting not for its return. The hyperbola will not close. The waiting for a reaction. What will be the reaction of the entity that sent this cylinder when it receives the report about our system? A report that, perhaps for the first time in eons, contains information about a technologically active civilization. A civilization that is not only existing, but also observing it. Our discovery, our ability to identify it, turns us from a passive object of observation into an active participant. It was a test. We passed it, or we failed it. We project our fears onto the universe, conquest, enslavement. But the true, deep fear is indifference. Something arrived that ignored all our signals, all our hypotheses, and simply performed its function. It saw no threat in us. It saw no equal. It saw only data. But what if its mission is not passive? If the purpose of its long 7-billion-year journey is not just to gather information, but to assess suitability, to assess the planet, its resources, its gravitational features, and, finally, its biological self-organization. We are a temporary, warm, organic phenomenon on the surface. And it is a cold, eternal observer who sees Earth not as our home, but as suitability object 404 Delta. And it retreats. In its thermodynamic memory remains a map of our solar system. It knows we are here, and it knows how to return, or how to send something else, something that will not need camouflage. The third interstellar visitor, and the first one that showed how young our science is. We spent months arguing about the tail and the coma, while the object performed a complex gravitational maneuver using our own sun. It's like arguing about the color of the curtains while a change of epochs unfolds outside the window. We found ourselves in a position where the absence of cometary signs is not an observational error, but an intentional fact. This is an anti-comet, an imitation created to remain in the category of natural phenomenon for as long as possible. But why was this camouflage needed? To avoid premature attention, to prevent us from being able to send something to it that could damage it, or at least take a sample. This speaks to the value of this object. It is not a consumable. It is a carrier. And its preservation was a priority, programmed into its system even before our sun was born. This changes our perception of the galaxy. We thought the galaxy was either empty or populated haphazardly. Now we see that it is, perhaps, threaded with the same ancient, silent, purposeful artifacts. That 3IATLAS is not an exception, but the standard of interstellar movement. That we are a tiny, local phenomenon, while around us the invisible, eternal highway of cosmic relics is bustling. And every such visitor carries not only foreign material, it carries a different time. It flew past, as if these months of our confusion had never happened. For it was an instant. For us, a change of paradigm. We will search for it in earlier images, in archives, trying to understand exactly where it came from. But its origin, its home, is likely just another point on the eternal hyperbola. What is important is not where it is from, but why it is here. And then they realized that the purpose of its mission is, perhaps, its own existence. Billions of years of self-maintenance. Evolution that managed without biology. Regeneration based on physics, not DNA. It is a living law. Eternal motion. This gives its retreat a special, oppressive gravity. We are not just saying goodbye to a comet, we are saying goodbye to the possibility of understanding, the possibility of asking a question directly. Only an echo remains, the echo of its anomalously bright nucleus, the echo of nickel without iron, the echo of the almost perfect cylindrical shape, and the echo of the incredible, statistically impossible precision with which its orbit coincided with ours. It is not looking for us, it knows us, and it will return, or its report will return. In the silence of the cosmic night, we felt for the first time not like the explorers, but the explored. We are the data being carried away. Or maybe it is us, and its departure is our awakening. We begin to build, we begin to think. not about tails and comas, but about geometry and eternity, about how to create a machine that will outlast our civilization, how to launch a probe that will travel 7 billion years and perform its mission. It showed us mastery, and now we must match it. If we cannot understand it, we must become it. This is its true message: belated, cold, pure. It simply moves away, dissolving into the abyss. But every kilometer of its removal only increases our own suddenly awakened need for cosmic scale, for longevity, for a meaning that